ever seen. I've watched Duke play. They shouldn't be this bad in offense. They should not be this bad in offense. Like, she is genuinely she's obviously, look, with the way this team defends, with her experience coaching, she's obviously an exceptional defensive coach. But like, that's why I'm concerned. I don't think Carl Lawson's a bad coach. I think she is maybe the worst offensive coach I've ever seen in basketball.
That's not just guessing. It's real concern from someone who knows how Carol Lawson runs things at Duke. And listen, this is important, because Lawson's not just coaching Duke anymore. She's now in charge of Team USA. But get this, the same coach whose Duke team sometimes struggles to score 50 points against good teams, she's now picking the Team USA roster. Does she include or exclude Caitlin Clark? We need to be clear here.
They're just not they're going to fuck it. I have this really strange feeling that they're going to fuck it. That they're going to try to justify it. Like, she's going to be, and everyone's like, oh, she's on the Team USA team. No, she's in Team USA camp. There's 20 fucking players in that camp. Like, Ariel Atkins is going to be at that camp. Sonia Citron's going to be at that camp. Do I think they're going to pick Caitlin Clark over Sonia Citron? Man, they picked Jewel Lloyd over Caitlin Clark. They picked an injured player over Caitlin Clark. They literally picked an injured player over her. Like, it is what it is. They picked an injured player over her for the last Olympics.
This isn't about whether Caitlin Clark is good enough. Come on. She was WNBA Rookie of the Year, led the league in assists with almost 9 a game, and turned the Indiana Fever around completely. The question isn't her talent. The thing is, does she fit? And really, does her offensive style work with Carol Lawson's defensive mindset?
You have to just go and like take the team that's going to win and not the best individual players. And I think if your tactic is you want to win the game in the 60s, Caitlin Clark's not the player for you, and we can all be honest with that. We can say that's a dumb tactic, but if you want to win a game in the 60s, Caitlin Clark's not the player for you. Like, you have enough scoring, and you're just going to go and play full defense maybe? Dump the ball into Aja Wilson. If you want to run and get out and use the advantage that Stewie and Aja Wilson have, if you want to go and use the advantage that Copper gets, if you want to use the advantage that Angel Reese is going to bring you on the inside, you go and bring Caitlin Clark. But if you want to win a game in the 60s and have a grind...
Duke hasn't exactly been lighting up the scoreboard under Lawson. Remember that Elite 8 game last year? They barely scraped past 50 points. And that's not just tournament pressure. That's how their system is. Now think about Caitlin Clark at Iowa. Her team averaged almost 87 points a game. Super fast, high scoring, everything built around her. She was amazing in transition, in pick and roll, creating shots for others. It was all about freedom and pace. But Lawson's Duke team, the opposite. Slow it down, play tough defense. Win in the 60s if you can. And here's the thing, Clark's never played in a system like that. Not at Iowa, not in the WNBA. She is the system. And if you don't play to her strengths, are you wasting the most exciting offensive player we've seen in a while?
They did out game where it's won and lost. It's won and lost in the mid-range, and give the other team a puncher's chance of beating you. Because let's be real, if you're trying to win a game in the 60s, all it takes is for the other team to hit a couple of threes and suddenly you've lost. Like, I don't know, if that's your tactic, you might lose, especially because of the standard that France is playing at the minute. And they have so many players, and in fairness, Spain look like they could be tricky enough as well. Australia are always going to be decent. So yeah, look, I think they bring Caitlin Clark. I do. But like, I also have this, the more I watch Duke, and maybe this is just because I'm watching a lot of Duke. I am watching a lot of Duke. I'm just watching them and I'm like...
Now, let's talk about point guard competition, because it's tricky. Jackie Young from the Aces is amazing on both ends of the court. Almost 16 points and 5 assists last year, plus killer defense. Alyssa Thomas from the Sun Defensive monster, can guard anyone and run the point too. And Chelsea Gray, even with the injury, she's got championship experience and that calm control you need in a grinded-out game. So, if Lawson wants a defensive team that wins in the 60s, those three might make more sense than Clark. Young can shut down opposing point guards. Thomas is a matchup nightmare at 6'2" with over 2 steals a game. Gray's led 2 teams to WNBA titles and knows how to manage those low-scoring games. What's more, Clark averaged a respectable 1.3 steals as a rookie, but her defensive rating was just okay. Not bad, but not who you bring in if defense is your priority. And that's the whole point. If Lawson builds around defense, Clark becomes a nice-to-have, not a must-have.
There's a system that you can build, a Caitlin to Asia. Realistically, who should be on that team? Guarantees. Caitlin, Asia, Stewie, Fee. Aaliyah, Kelsey Mitchell, possibly. Maybe not as much. Aaliyah should be a guarantee. Jackie Young should be a guarantee. And that's it. That's it. But the problem is, like, you're going to bring Angel as a big. You're going to bring... you're probably going to bring... Like, I wouldn't even be that opposed to bringing Citron as a guarantee as just a glue player. Because, like, she's the best of what she is in the league. But, like, I just have this really weird feeling that in March she's not going to do great at this Team USA camp. Or not even that she's not going to do great. She's not going to do great in this slow down defensive system, which we can all admit that that's not playing to Caitlin Clark's strengths. And
remember the 2024 Olympics? Clark didn't make the team, even though everyone was talking about her. The committee went with experience and players who knew international play, the FIBA rules, and the defensive schemes. But get this, they picked Dearica Hamby over Clark. Hamby wasn't even fully healthy, but they still chose her for her size, rebounding, and defense. That tells you everything about Team USA's priorities. Fit over fame. So now we're heading into the 2026 World Cup, and the coach's philosophy is all about defense and controlling the tempo. Kara Lawson hasn't coached a fast-paced, offense-first team at Duke. She's never had a player like Clark, and she's never said she'd change her system for that kind of talent.
Maybe it's like, oh, you know, Jackie Young's actually better in this system, and, you know, we need Chelsea Gray for vet leadership. I have this really weird feeling she's not going to make the team. Do I have any evidence to back it up? No, I've just been watching a Kara Lawson coach team. I've been watching a Kara Lawson coach team, and I'm literally sitting there like, this is vomit basketball. This is one of the worst things that I've ever watched. And I watched Duke last year, and like, other than Toby Fournier, who at times was a little bit of an exciting player, I was like, this is unwatchable. And that like, they were awful to watch. They were absolutely awful to watch last year. They're even worse to watch this year, and they're meant to be good. Like, they are meant to be good. And they're just, if nothing else, even if you want to say Duke aren't that bad, they're boring as fuck. And I think we can all come to an agreement in a slow down, boring play style. Would you rather have Alyssa Thomas or Caitlin Clark? And you might be saying,
okay, let's talk about Team USA training camp in March. 20 players will get invites, and Clark will definitely be one of them. But so will Paige Beckers, likely the #1 pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, and Sonia Citron from Notre Dame, one of the best glue players around. And every veteran who's been with the national team for years, 20 players, but only 12 spots, so 8 people get cut. And that's when the stylistic stuff gets real. If Lawson runs her Duke defense during those scrimmages, Clark might struggle. She's not going to shine in a slow, half-court setting. Her strengths just don't fit there. But someone like Alyssa Thomas, she'll look amazing. Getting steals, pushing the ball after stops, making smart passes. Jackie Young will be locking down guards and hitting those mid-range shots. Those players will look like perfect fits for Lawson's plan, and when it's time to make cuts, fit matters more than pure talent.
like, they do, but like, they also don't. They do and they don't. But yeah, it's It's an interesting one all around. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think it's a guarantee? I think if the coach was an offensive coach, it would be a guarantee. I think it would be a guarantee that she starts. I think the likelihood is that she starts. I think it's more likely that Caitlin Clark doesn't make the team, that she comes off the bench. I think if a coach wants to bring Caitlin Clark's your point guard.
The international game is different. The three-point line is closer, which should help shooters like Clark, but it's also more physical. There's less protection for perimeter players. So post play is more important. Transition is harder because teams get back on defense. France has been building their program for years. Size, skill, experience. Spain is getting good with versatile forwards. Australia is always tough and disciplined. You can't just outscore these teams. So, if Lawson thinks winning the World Cup means playing tough defense and limiting possessions, she might be right. The US has the most talent on paper, but everyone else is catching up. You can't just show up and win by 20 anymore. You need a system, communication, and players who buy into it. Does Clark fit that system, or does she need the system built around her to be her best?
Start Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark's not going to be on the squad. I think it's going to be, with the way everything's being treated with Team USA basketball, and even with Sue Bird and the WNBA and everything, I think it's going to be one of two extremes. I think either she's going to be the guaranteed starting point guard, no question about it, or she's going to not make.
Now let's talk about who's definitely making the team, because that matters. A'ja Wilson is a lock. Two-time MVP, best player in the world, center of any Team USA offense. Breanna Stewart is a lock. Face of USA basketball for a decade, brings size, versatility, championships, Sabrina. Ionescu is almost definitely in given her shooting and how popular she is. Kelsey Mitchell has an outside shot because she can score. And Napisa Collier should be in because she's great on both ends of the court. That's 5 spots basically decided before camp. Maybe 6 with Mitchell. That leaves 6 or 7 spots for everyone else, and that's when it gets tough. Angel Reese might make it as a rebounder. Alyssa Thomas as a defensive stopper. Jackie Young as a two-way guard. Chelsea Gray as a veteran point guard. Sonia Citron as a glue player. And somewhere in that mix, Clark is fighting for a spot based on how she fits Lawson's system. Here's what makes this situation so tense. If Clark makes the roster, she pretty much has to start. You don't bring in the player who's changed the WNBA and have her come off the bench. That's a PR nightmare and a waste of her talent. She's not a role player. Clark is a system player, in that she is the system. At Iowa, everything ran through her. In the WNBA, she has the ball all the time. She's starting the offense, creating transition, finding shooters. You maximize her value by giving her the keys and letting her control the pace. But what if Lawson doesn't want to play that way? What if she wants Young starting at point guard because she can defend? What if she wants to slow the game down and feed Wilson in the post? What if her whole plan is about limiting possessions and winning with defense? If that's the case, Clark doesn't just become a bench player. She might not make the team at all. If you're not going to start her and build around her, why bring her? Why waste a spot on someone who doesn't fit what you're trying to do? That's the reality. It's not about whether Clark is good enough, it's about whether Lawson's system has room for her. And based on what we've seen from Duke and Lawson's defensive focus, there's a chance the answer is no. Think about how that looks. The most popular player in women's basketball getting left off the World Cup roster. The backlash would be huge. But USA basketball has never cared about popularity. They care about winning, and if Lawson really thinks she can win without Clark by emphasizing defense, she'll do it. We saw it at the Olympics. They stuck to their principles about experience and fit. They didn't give in to pressure, and they won gold, which proved their point. The World Cup is different, but the philosophy is the same. USA basketball will pick the 12 players who give them the best chance to win, regardless of popularity. And if Lawson looks at her options and decides that Young, Thomas, and Gray give her better defense and system fit than Clark, she'll make that choice. The training camp in March will tell us everything. Watch how Lawson structures the scrimmages. Watch what pace she wants to play at. Watch whether she emphasizes transition or half-court execution. Watch how much freedom she gives the point guards. If it looks like a Duke practice with a focus on defense, that's bad news for Clark. If the camp is more free-flowing with an emphasis on pace, that's good. But based on what we know about Lawson, I'd bet on the former. And the thing is, the people who cover this closely are seeing the same warning signs. They're watching Duke games and cringing at the offense. They're looking at the roster and realizing that the point guard spot is crowded with players who fit a defensive system better than Clark. This isn't about Clark's talent. She's one of the best players in the WNBA. This is about coaching philosophy and system fit. And unfortunately for Clark, she's in a situation where the coach has never wanted to build around an offensive point guard who needs the ball. So what happens if she doesn't make the roster? The media storm would be crazy. Fans would be mad, sponsors would worry about losing the star power, but USA Basketball would stick to their guns, point to their history of winning, and argue that they picked the best team to win. And maybe they'd be right. Maybe a defensive team built around Wilson, Stewart, and a bunch of two-way players really is the best way to win the World Cup. Maybe Clark's offense isn't as valuable in international play where the game is slower and more physical. Or maybe leaving her off the roster would be a huge mistake that costs Team USA a gold medal, because they left their best playmaker at home. Maybe they'd struggle to score in close games and wish they had someone who could create offense out of nothing. We won't know until March. But the warning signs are there. The coaching philosophy doesn't match Clark's strengths. The point guard spot is crowded with defensive players, and USA Basketball has a history of prioritizing fit over fame. So if you're a Clark fan, you should be nervous, not because she's not good enough, but because the coach might not value what she does best in international play where system and cohesion are key. That could be enough to leave the WNBA's biggest star at home. So what do you think? Is Lawson making a mistake if she leaves Clark off the team? Or is a defensive team the right way to go for international play? Drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, and let's see what happens in March.